I'm Dustin Cormier, and this is the How to Rock Astrology audio series. The information in this recording is copyrighted by Dustin Cormier, 2015, all rights reserved, except where noted in the recording. The following information on ascendant or rising signs comes from Stephen Arroyo's Chart Interpretation Handbook, copyrighted in 1989 by Stephen Arroyo, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. Guidelines to interpreting the ascendant. Although the ascendant is of deep and pervasive importance for each individual, there is no denying that it must be related to the rest of the chart, and especially to the sun sign, in order to understand it thoroughly for a particular person. The sun, after all, is the core identity, the very center of the consciousness, the way we assimilate much of our experience, whereas the ascendant, although it varies in importance from person to person, is not as central to the person's nature. It shows, among other things, the approach to life, but the sun shows life itself. The ascendant must serve the purposes, values, and creative goals of the sun for the individual to function happily and fully. A useful tool for understanding how a person's ascendant and sun sign interact is to compare the elements of the two factors. For example, a Cancer sun sign person with a fire sign rising is usually far more extroverted, forcefully expressive, and confident than a Cancer sun individual with, say, a more conservative, self-protective earth sign rising. For another example, an air sign sun person with a water sign rising may appear much more emotional than he or she really is, whereas a water sign sun person with an air sign rising may appear far more detached and less emotional than he or she really is. It should be pointed out that people are often relatively unaware of their ascendant nature as compared to their sun sign. In that sense, the ascendant is a factor that can be consciously developed further over time and consciously utilized to aid one's self-expression. I've known people who are relieved to find what their rising signs were, since it finally gave them a way of identifying a very deep but only semi-conscious tendency in themselves. In some cases, the qualities and abilities symbolized by the ascendant were just beginning to emerge, and learning the astrological keys to this factor helped personal development greatly. I should emphasize here that perhaps more than with most other factors in the chart, the early environment can encourage or suppress the expression of the ascendant's energies, since it is a primary channel with which one interacts with the outer world. The reader should view the following comparative evaluations as guidelines and as questions to explore, rather than as rigid statements of absolute truth. Libra Modality or Quadruplicity. Libra Modality is cardinal, the active energy mode. There are exactly 4 of these active signs in the zodiac belonging to the cardinal modality. These include Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, and they all share similar characteristics. The 4 cardinal signs exhibit more restlessness than the other 8 signs. There's a sense of, I've got to do something, and a tendency to be enamored by activity for activity's sake. These active signs share the challenge of identifying the source of their behavior. Are they motivated by true inspiration? Or are they rushing around because they feel like the crap's going to hit the fan? Or maybe they're trying to avoid feeling lazy and unproductive. The element of the ascendant. The element of the ascendant reveals the quality of energy flow directly vitalizing the physical body and the overall approach to life. Fire or air signs rising tend to conduct energy, encouraging active self-expression and dynamic expenditure of energy. Earth or water rising signs tend to conserve and resist the flow of vital energies, and hence indicate self-containment, sometimes self-repression, and the tendency of living within oneself. Air signs rising, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Mentally quick and active, inquisitive, social, friendly, verbal. Often clever with rapid perceptions. Can be overly intellectual to the point of chronically debating everything inwardly without taking action. Wants to understand everything. Lives a lot in the world of concepts. Has a natural facility for communication and perceiving others' viewpoints. Libra Ascendant or Libra Rising. Although a Libra Ascendant often tends toward a somewhat narcissistic self-centeredness more often than is the case with Libra Sun, it must be stated also that the Libra Ascendant is sometimes genuinely kinder and sweeter than is the Libra Sun, who often relates to others in a more detached way, realizing that life is not all sweetness and light. Libra rising lends a personal tone to the way all the other energies of the chart are expressed. Although close relationships are of central importance to those with Libra Sun, the need for the other is sometimes even more crucial for the Libra Ascendant person, whose entire life often seems focused on the primary relationship of their life or the lack of such a relationship. When there is no partner, the Libra Ascendant person sometimes loses all sense of direction and can feel a serious lack of initiative and physical energy. Fuller details about the relationship needs can be understood by evaluating Venus in the chart. The Libra Ascendant individual often at least appears more superficial than the Libra Sun, who is usually much deeper than they let on. Also, Libra Ascendant seems to retain a romantic view of life longer than the often cynical Libra Sun. The following information comes from Isabel Hickey's classic text, Astrology, A Cosmic Science, copyrighted in 1992 by Isabel M. Hickey Trust, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. Libra on the Ascendant. Artistic, creative, and sociable. Needs to let go of self-interest and become cooperative rather than competitive. Indecisions, yet a great fixity that doesn't show on the surface. Good arguers and make great lawyers. Expedient and practical in a shrewd way. Diplomats, they have a friendly exterior, but note the aspects to Venus and to Saturn to see if they are dependable. Have a keen sense of color. An environment must be harmonious or they wilt. Cannot stand disorder. If Venus is poorly placed, there can be unbalance in nature. Apt to try too hard to please others and negate principles in order to be popular. The following information comes from The Secrets of Your Rising Sign by William Lamb with Webb Harris, Jr., copyrighted by William Lamb in 2004, first published in the USA by Fair Winds Press in Gloucester, Massachusetts. I do not own the following content. Always obliging, with superb people skills, likable Libras ingrained childhood politeness blossoms ultimately into an adept social skillfulness. People with Libra rising are masters of diplomacy. What can I do for you? They enjoy the company of others and don't like to be alone. They often nose in and are sometimes better off minding their own business. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Left or right, I don't know. Oh hell, wait and see. If their options aren't inspiring, these folks are indecisive. And they usually have a good eye for style and color. Physical type. Sometimes sharp facial features, usually well proportioned, with long, attractive, shapely legs. Favored color, greenish blue. The following information comes from Isabel Hickey's Astrology, A Cosmic Science, copyrighted in 1992 by Isabel M. Hickey Trust, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. The significance of the Sun and the Sun sign in astrology. The symbol of the Sun in astrology is a circle with a dot in the middle. This is a very deep occult spiritual symbolism. The circle represents the eternal self that did not start here and does not finish here on earth. The dot in the middle represents the divine spark at the center of every living cell, the light which lighteth every man which cometh into the world. It is the point of light at the center of every living cell. In the blueprint, the sun represents the main expression of the individual, the heart and core of beingness. The sun has a different effect on individuals born at different times of the year. According to the sign and house in which the sun is placed, we are able to judge the general vitality and physique, the qualities of leadership, and the individual's ability to succeed in life. In a personal chart, the sun represents the basic drive for significance, the will, male relationships, and female charts, especially with the father, vital energy coming from the etheric levels and prana, fuel on which the total personality operates, urge for power, constitutional strength, and finally, A powerful sun means very great power to do and to be. Keywords of the sun: will, individuality, spirit. The sun is the significator of the spirit in man, the beingness or isness of life. It rules the basic drive for significance, the will to be. Physically, the sun is the sustainer of life, giver of light, heat, and energy. More than anything else in the chart, it shows the will, man's highest expression. Its aspects show deep character traits, the chief ambitions. It needs aspects to the planets for strength of expression in the horoscope. As the sun moves through the signs, its return to the sign of its exaltation, Aries, the eastern horizon, marks the beginning of the astrological year. Springtime brings the release of a new cycle of life. As the sun moves through the houses, its return to the eastern horizon is the beginning of the astrological day, sunrise. The sun sign in its element. The following information comes from Stephen Arroyo's Chart Interpretation Handbook, copyrighted in 1989 by Stephen Arroyo, published by CRCS Publications in Sebastopol, California. I do not own the following content. The sun sign's element is usually dominant in considering the overall psychology of a person. This is so because the sun sign's element reveals the attunement of one's basic vitality, identity, and power of self-projection, as well as the fundamental quality of his or her consciousness. The element of one's sun sign reveals the basic inner force motivating everything we do. The element of the sun sign also gives insight into how any individual sees life itself and what expectations they have of the life experience. Scorpio Sun. Scorpio is a water sign. These are the common characteristics of people born with the sun and water signs. Basically motivated by deep emotional yearnings and desires. Recharges energy through intense emotional experience and intimate involvement with people. Interpretive guidelines for the sun and Scorpio. Creative energy penetrates surface experience through intense emotional power and intuition. Needs to express one's transformative energy, often reforming the status quo. Craves for intensity, involving the core of human experience, often seeking this in deep, merging, usually highly sexual relationships. Level of vitality is connected to constant inner compulsive desires, sometimes obsessions. Flow of creative expression can be hindered by emotional fixations, reluctance to be open, and fear of losing control. This final article comes from The Secrets of Your Rising Sign by William Lamb with Webb Harris Jr., copyrighted by William Lamb in 2004, first published in the USA by Fair Winds Press in Gloucester, Massachusetts. I do not own the following content. Scorpios born pre-dawn. Scorpio with Libra rising. Now here's someone who would love to know your business. These people welcome the opportunity to help others solve their problems, and they're indispensable to their friends as insightful sounding boards. Perceptive and investigative, with a wonderful ability to put themselves in the other person's shoes, these Scorpios are usually obliging, sociable people, superb at ingratiating themselves with people for fun and profit. More than most other Scorpio types, they enjoy the company of others. Scorpios sometimes desire isolation, but that's rarely the case here. Not that they don't have their Scorpio secrets, but these Scorpios know just what to reveal and when to reveal it in order to build bridges of trust and good rapport with friends and associates. People quickly learn that Scorpios with diplomatic, obliging, likable Libra rising have valuable insights to offer and aren't necessarily averse to sharing them, so they gather around, hoping for a tidbit, and it isn't long before their undivided attention is rewarded with the inside information they were looking for. At their best, Scorpios born pre-dawn are determined, generous, and typically more secure than some other Scorpios because they're more aware of what everyone else is up to. And their fair-minded willingness to please usually brings a happy ending with a good, firm handshake. It's deal-making, after all, that these Scorpios do best. They know more about one hand washing the other than other Scorpios. They're also blessed with an ability to envision a makeover, giving them a sharp and shrewd eye for what new twists will look good, have good value, and work pleasingly for everyone. For instance, when it comes to real estate and land development, they seem to know instinctively how things operate. They're wonderful at getting everyone on board and making it work. They see the promise in regeneration where others see poor location or hopeless decay. And their plans are not fairy tales. Given how smoothly they make things work, they may seem heavenly, but the results will be earthly practical. They simply have a sixth sense for restorative possibilities. They can renovate houses and regenerate love affairs like nobody's business. Libra's tendency to wait and see is helpful in this regard also. If applications or contracts or groundbreakings need to be put on hold to accommodate someone else's legitimate need, these Scorpios don't necessarily see it as negative. They simply move things around until everyone is appeased and life goes on. The key here is wisely chosen associations and compatible relationships. With Libra involved, there's always a danger of "I don't want to be alone" tendencies, leading these Scorpios into incompatible situations just to avoid feeling lonely. They usually know who they're getting involved with, but if they slip up, it may take them forever to extricate themselves. They sometimes stay put long after the love and respect have left, trying to salvage what's innately flawed. It's very costly in time and energy. They need to lighten up and move along in these circumstances. So for associations that begin with promise but for some reason go south, the best strategy is to just let them go, break loose of any negativity, and move on to greener pastures. For these incomparably likable Scorpios, there's never a lack of new and legitimate associates eager to extend their friendship.